career catches for a Dallas tight end. And he's got 2 tonight, 1 for a touchdown. Romo back with time. Deep middle, Witten. There you go. Now he needs 3. Lost his helmet. Keeps running without a hat. 15 to the 10 to the 6. And they'll get a little more yardage for taking off the man's hat. Don't take a man's hat.
If we talk about tight ends, Jason Witten is a name that should be mentioned. Witten was a staple to the Dallas Cowboys offense for many years and presumably will be a Hall of Famer. But with great players, mean that young athletes never get the chance to shine on their own abilities on Dallas. Today, I'll be going over every tight end number 2 that was behind Jason Witten. After his rookie season in 2003, Witten would become tight end number 1, beating out Dan Campbell. Dan was a Texas kid that played at Texas A&M for 3 seasons. Campbell would be drafted by the Giants in the 3rd round of the 1999 NFL Draft. After a no-stat rookie season, Dan would get 8 catches with the Giants and go to the Super Bowl against the Ravens. They lost 7-34. By 2001, Campbell would be the main blocking tight end for New York, aiding Tiki Barber to place 2nd in rushing for franchise history. In 2003, Giants would let Dan walk and sign with the Cowboys. Of course, Witten would emerge and Campbell slipped behind. In 2004, he would only play 3 games before suffering a season-ending torn ligament on his foot. In 2005, Dallas would scheme a 2 tight end offense, so Campbell played alongside Witten, but only recorded 3 receptions. After his stint in Dallas, Dan would sign with the Lions in 2006, where he would have his best season, posting over 308 yards and 4 touchdowns. But this would end on a sad note, as with constant injuries, Dan would only play 3 games after 2006. He would be released in February 2009. A few weeks later, Dan would sign with the Saints, but was placed on IR before the season started, and when the Saints won the Super Bowl against the Colts, he would not get a Super Bowl ring. After the Saints, Campbell would take up coaching, being with the Dolphins in 2010 to 2015, where he would be an interim head coach after Miami fired Joe Philbin. He took the team 5-7. He would then sign to be tight end coach for the Saints in 2016 until 2020, where he would sign with the Lions to be their head coach.
So this team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap. And we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
His first year with the Lions would go 3-13-1, being last in their division and the 2nd pick of the NFL Draft. The next season would be a huge improvement as he would take the Lions to go 9-8 and barely miss the playoffs. After Dan Campbell suffered an injury, Witten was the main man so much that they really didn't have a tight end behind Campbell. So I just covered the player that had the most snaps, which in this case is Brett Pierce. Brett played 4 seasons in Stanford, where he would go undrafted in the 2004 NFL Draft. He would sign with the Ravens and end up on their practice squad to begin the season. That's when Dallas signed him to the roster after the injury to Campbell. Pierce would go to play 8 games and became a core special teamer, but not record a single offensive snap. After 2004, he would be demoted after Campbell came back from his injury, but still appear in 10 games before tearing his anterior cruciate ligament that took him out for the season. In 2006, he would tear the same ligament and was on IR for the rest of the season. Dallas would let Pierce walk after this. Brett would sign with the Bears August 2007, but was released before the season started. He would sign with the Broncos in December, playing some snaps as fullback. He would stay with Denver through the offseason, but was waived in 2008 after suffering a left ankle injury. Pierce would retire after this, and is currently a CEO for Elite Dental Alliance, helping private dental practices against the corporate practices. After Campbell walked into free agency, Dallas would draft their next tight end for their 2 tight end set, Anthony Fasano. After playing 4 seasons at Notre Dame, Anthony would be drafted by Dallas in the 2nd round. Like the tight ends before, he was a solid blocker for Dallas, helping Julius Jones to a 1,000-yard season. He would continue into 2007, recording the same stats, but with his first career touchdown. The coaching staff would shift with Wade Phillips as head coach and Jason Garrett as offensive coordinator. This would lead to Fasano as well as linebacker Akin Adele to being traded to the Dolphins for a 4th-round pick. Fasano would become the starter for the Dolphins, playing every game, recording 454 yards and 7 touchdowns in 2008. He would be their starter all the way until 2012. As a free agent in 2013, he would sign with the Chiefs as their starter, but only play 9 games after various injuries. He would be the starter in 2014, but was demoted to backup after the emergence of Travis Kelce. He would be released after the season. Anthony would sign with the Titans, being backup to Delane Walker for 2 seasons. After that stint, Fasano would come back to Miami in 2016 and start 6 games to record 107 yards and a touchdown. He would retire after the season. Currently, Anthony is the CEO of All Points North Lodge, a facility that works with people seeking trauma therapy, addiction treatment, or mental health work. After trading Fasano to the Dolphins, Dallas needed another tight end to fill that 2 tight end set. Came Martellus Bennett. After playing basketball and football in Texas A&M, Bennett would be drafted by Dallas in the 2nd round. Bennett would be the backup to win for almost every game, only missing 4 in his stint in Dallas, but only gained 4 touchdowns in his rookie season. In 2012, Bennett would walk for an opportunity to start for a team, thus signing with the Giants. He would play every game that season, recording 626 yards and 5 touchdowns, but would walk into free agency once again. Bennett would sign a contract with the Bears in 2013, and he would proceed to start for the Bears for the next 3 seasons, even being a Pro Bowler in 2014. On his last year of his contract, the Bears would trade Bennett to the Patriots for a 6th-round pick in 2016, playing a 2 tight end set behind Rob Gronkowski. Bennett and the Patriots would make it to the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. Bennett would make a crucial play during overtime where he would cause the defense to be penalized for pass interference, which set up the game-winning touchdown that made Martellus Bennett a Super Bowl winner. After finishing his contract, Bennett would sign with the Packers for the 2017 season, but after 7 games was released after apparent failure to disclose a medical condition designation. He would return to play for the Patriots, but would only play 2 games before suffering hamstring and shoulder injuries. Bennett would retire in 2018, focusing on his multimedia production company. After Bennett walked into free agency, Dallas would, instead of drafting his replacement, bring the next man up of John Phillips. After 4 seasons in Virginia, Dallas would draft Phillips in the 6th round of the 2009 draft, being behind both Witten and Bennett for his rookie season. He would play every game but only record 7 catches for 62 yards. 2010 could have been a breakout year for John, as he was pressing the coaching staff, even looking like being over Bennett on the depth chart, but would suffer a torn ACL to take him out for the season. He would return on the field and play every game in 2011, even being 2nd on the team with special team tackles. After Bennett, Phillips would have a solid season being a core special teamer and H-back blocker, but would be re-signed in 2012. He would sign with the San Diego Chargers in 2013, playing all but 1 game after tearing his ACL and MCL. He would come back and play every game for that 2014 season. 2015 would be an interesting season, as Phillips would be released beginning of the season, but was signed back after a concussion to Ladarius Green, and Antonio Gates was serving a suspension, being tight end 1 for 2 games until Gates came back. He would spend 2016 with the Broncos and the Saints, playing every game. He would re-sign with the Saints in 2017, being on and off the roster, but still played 1 game for them before walking to free agency. He would sign back to the Saints for the 2018 preseason, but was released before the season started. He would sign with the Cardinals October 2018 and play a remaining 8 games that season. He would sign with the Chiefs during the 2019 offseason, but was released a week later. John Phillips would retire after this. After letting Phillips go, Dallas would once again go to the next man up, bringing James Hanna to the fold. Hanna would be drafted in the 6th round of the 2012 NFL Draft after his 4 seasons in Oklahoma. He would become more of a special teamer alongside John Phillips. He would be between the two, played the most of the 16 games, starting 8 games as the main blocker. In 2014, he would establish being the point of attack blocker after leading DeMarco Murray to being the NFL's leading rusher that year. He would miss 2 games in 2015, but still improved as a run blocker and helped Darren McFadden to a 1,000-yard season. In 2016, he would suffer a bone bruise in his right knee and was out for the season. In 2017, he would retain his backup role and played every game that season and retired in 2018. After James James Hanna suffered his bone bruise, Geoff Swaim would take the role of being behind Witten. Swaim was a converted linebacker and played 2 seasons at Butte College and transferred to play his last 2 at Texas University. Dallas would trade up in the 7th round of the 2015 draft to obtain Swaim. Geoff would only appear in 1 game merely due to injuries. In 2016, for the next 9 games, Swaim was the backup until he suffered a pectoral tear, which ended that season. He would record 6 for 69 yards. Once Hanna was healthy, he would demote back to 3rd string. After both Witten and Hanna retired, Swaim would become the starter for Dallas in 2018. Swaim would play the 9 games before being placed on IR. Though having career highs and became a solid blocker, his injuries would limit his development. Dallas would let Swaim walk. On March 15, 2019, Geoff would sign with the Jaguars, being the backup behind James O'Shaughnessy. He would be in 6 games before being placed on IR after an ankle and concussion injury. After only recording 65 yards, the Jaguars would release Swaim during the 2020 offseason. In August, Swaim would sign with the Titans, being behind McCole Pruitt. After starting inactive for the first 3 weeks, Swaim would be the starter in Week 6 after the Titans settled a COVID outbreak. He would play the remaining 10 games, playing the 2nd most snaps among the tight ends. In 2021, Swaim would beat Anthony Firkser for the starting tight end role. For the first time in his career, he would play every game that season, recording 31 catches for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns. The next season, Swaim would play every game once again, recording 12 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. He's currently a pending free agent. With Geoff Swaim out for the season in 2016, Gavin Escobar would take up the stand. Escobar, as a rookie coming from San Diego State, was used sparingly and caught 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. In 2014, he wouldn't pass up James Hanna, but was more the receiver than blocker and still recorded 105 yards and 4 touchdowns on only 9 receptions. Escobar would establish here that he was for the catches while Hanna was for the blocking. But 2015 would be a step down as quarterback Tony Romo was out for most of the season, giving Escobar 64 yards and a touchdown before suffering a torn ACL. He would heal for the 2016 season. With Hanna being out for the season, he was still the 3rd tight end on the depth chart. But it was when the backup tight end suffered a season-ending injury that Escobar became the backup tight end for the first time. But the Cowboys have obviously also established that they didn't have a role for Escobar, giving him 30 yards and a touchdown, and would let him walk after the season. Escobar would sign a contract with the Chiefs in 2017, but was released before the season. He would be signed in October 23rd by the Ravens as a depth piece after Max Williams suffered an injury, but was released on November 18th. After spending the offseason with the Browns and the Dolphins, he would play for the AAF San Diego Fleet, catching 142 yards, one being a backwards throw. Escobar would retire from football after this and become a firefighter in February 2022. On September 28, 2022, 2 rock climbers were killed at Takis Rock, dangerous for its rockfall. It would be the next day that one of the climbers were identified as Gavin Escobar. He was 31 and was married and had 2 children. May Gavin Escobar rest in peace. After the 2017 season, Jason Witten will retire from football and become a lead analyst in Monday Night Football.
2nd and 6. Ball's out! That was Trevathan with the big sack. You're going to see him here. Trevathan just gets him so right there on the right side. Trevathan. I tell you what, Tess, you saw Aaron Rodgers there. Blood on his elbow. Big old knee brace on, hitting the wrist, it doesn't matter. He pulls another rabbit out of his head.
But after 2018 came and went, Witten will return to the gridiron and sign a 1-year contract with the Cowboys. So Witten had one more backup to overshadow. Since Swaim left free agency, the new tight end for Witten to dethrone was Blake Jarwin. After 3 seasons in Oklahoma State, Jarwin would go undrafted in 2017 and sign with the Cowboys in May. He would play out the preseason but end up on the practice squad, but would be signed to the active roster so the Eagles wouldn't poach him from the practice squad. He would only appear in 1 game. With Witten and James Hanna retired, Jarwin had the opportunity to be the starter for the Dallas offense, but would lose it to Geoff Swaim. He would be the backup until Swaim's injury placed on IR on week 11. where he would be the starter over rookie Dalton Schultz, who did get an increased role as blocker. Jarwin would be quiet until his last game against the Giants, where he would go 7 catches for 919 yards and 3 touchdowns. He would earn NFC Offensive Player of the Week. This late performance of Jarwin led to him being a favorite to being the starter for Dallas, but once Witten would unretire, this would make Jarwin the backup once again. Even with this, Jarwin would have his best career season, having 31 receptions for 365 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 of them coming against the Giants. In 2020, Jarwin would be extended to a 3-year deal while Witten left in free agency, making him the starter for the first time. But in the first game against the Rams, after catching a 12-yard catch, Jarwin would tear his ACL and end his season. And to make matters worse, Dalton Schultz would have evolved to making a case to being starter for 2021. Schultz would win the battle, making Jarwin back up once again. He would play the first 8 games before being placed on the IR with a hip injury. The hip injury would require surgery with a long rehab process, a rare case for an NFL player. Dallas would not have this, as on March 2022, he would be released by the Cowboys. On December 27th, Jarwin would have a trial with the Eagles, the team that wanted him so many seasons ago, but left without a contract. Jarwin has since been rehabbing and partnered up with Oxfit, a company that makes home gym sets. After the 2019 season, Witten would sign with the Las Vegas Raiders for that 2020 season, being for the first time since his rookie season a backup tight end, being behind the emerged Darren Waller. After 2020, Witten would retire once again. Witten outshadowed many tight ends in his time. Many would never improve from their time in Dallas. Some became franchise starters and even won a Super Bowl. But one thing's for sure, one man's greatness overshadowed those that tried besting him at his own game.